Hello and welcome to this episode of Tuning Tips by CS Tuners, where I share how the best-in-class companies achieve 28% higher net revenue retention. Today, my good friend Naval Gupta, professional services leader at Github, and I discuss how the champions offer paid professional services 4 times more often as part of their strategy to excellence.
Yeah, thank you, Andreas. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I have worked across a gamut of different size companies across different verticals, all the way from SMB to big enterprise accounts. And, one thing that's kind of common, especially in the SaaS business, is, or it used to be, now people are coming around to, is there was this myth that hey, services are not needed, or it should be plug and play, or it should be like a very fast turnaround. And while that may be true for some types of businesses, for most of the complex enterprise product-based attached services, I've found that services actually are not only a must-have, it actually are a critical cog in the wheel, a critical component to get to that net retention, that ARR, that the business is driving towards, and really a critical component for the success of the customer, which is really the North Star for both the vendor, the product vendor, as well as the customer themselves in terms of the outcomes that they're trying to achieve. Why is that? I would say, there are probably, 3 or 4 kind of critical levers and drivers I can think of where professional services can be kind of a key post-sale and even pre-sale for that matter, but definitely post-sale differentiator, right, in a SaaS business model. One is the satisfaction and success of the customer themselves. If they don't adopt the product, right, it's very easy to not renew the subscription next year, right? Again, especially since it's quite easy to, there would be very little appetite to renew the subscription if the stickiness and product adoption by the user base is not there, right? And so by not leveraging services, with the expertise that they bring in, right, as SMEs, it may be a little bit of, penny wise and pound foolish kind of situation, right? It will lead to low NPS scores. It will lead to kind of, poor reviews and then kind of limited word of mouth lead gen as well. So that's one area where professional services can directly impact. The other is, we touched upon it, kind of related, is making sure the customer is making sure the customer is there, right? Customer retention, and making sure that they don't churn. Obviously, in a SaaS business, we make money on renewals, right? The cost of acquiring a customer is way higher than cost of retaining a customer. So that's where you start making money in the second and the third and the fourth. So this is from the vendor perspective, right? But also from the customer perspective, the cost of the effort of moving vendors or changing vendors may be technically, at least from a contractual perspective, quote, easy.
Yeah.
But the total cost to the business of moving to a different platform, because this one didn't work, is extremely high, both in terms of lost hours and productivity. And really, it's a double whammy for them, because not only did they not get the value that they were after for which they bought the solution, but now there's the cost of moving to another tool. What seems to happen is that the tool gets blamed for it, whereas the reality is that it needed expert services, right? And so I think for a variety of like those factors, land and expand cannot work. Expansion doesn't happen. For all of those reasons, both from a vendor perspective as well as from the perspective of the customer, it is imperative, it is critical that professional services be involved for the overall success of the customer.
That all sounds great. How do you position the extra cost on top of the subscription for your services?
I would separate 2 things out. So one is, how much do you actually end up charging the customer in terms of real dollars, right? Because in a startup's early days, for example, right, professional services can be a loss leader, right? It can be a cost of doing business. I used to work for Marketo, where Phil Fernandez, our founder and CEO, he had this approach, right? We at Marketo, we did not charge for services or professional services for a long time.
Mhm.
That did not mean that we did not have a services business.
Yes.
We were still providing services, right? But it was a cost of doing business. So within it depends on where the journey of the particular company is, and the domain, the complexity of the product and so forth. But what I have observed is that if you keep the kind of the financial arrangements aside in terms of whether it'll be like part of absorbing the cost, the effort that the ROI that is that gets generated as a result of inserting the subject matter experts at the right point in the right amount at the right time, right, more than kind of pays for itself, again, for both the vendor as well as the customer.
Thank you. It's appreciated.
Thank you so much, Andreas. It's always been so much fun and a great pleasure to hang alongside you in all of these forums and discussions. And I learned so much from you and the exemplary work that you've been doing in the customer success space.
Thank you. It's appreciated. If anyone in the audience would like to benchmark themselves and receive a personalized performance report, spend 10 minutes and go to customersuccessperformanceindex.com. Until the next episode, I say goodbye.